which dreams are just dreams, and which are an issue your subconscious is working out, or perhaps, in my case, eclipsed memories of the past, a past I was still piecing together. The piece I'd already figured out was the dark brown eyes. If this were a novel, those intense eyes might bring a sense of fear or unease. Perhaps they'd be a harbinger of my death and open up a vast mystery. Surprisingly, those eyes were the only part of my dreams that absolutely brought me comfort. Were they the eyes of a long-lost love? No. Were they the sinister yet seductive eyes of a criminal? No. Tall, dark, and handsome stranger. Try squat, rather tubby Italian, who never stopped moving and was, most of the time, bellowing. Which was actually occurring downstairs right this second. I jumped out of bed, threw on my favorite black skirt and white blouse with the long full sleeves, raced a washcloth around my face, brushed my dark brown hair, tossed on some mascara and bright red lipstick, slipped on my high-heeled red Mary Janes, and ran down the stairs to greet that bellower, who just happened to be my boss and a friend of the family. He was also the 99th mayor of New York City, Fiorello LaGuardia. "Good morning, Laney Lane, my girl," boomed a voice loud enough to be worthy of a 6'8" giant versus this 5'2" rotund man. "Ugh," I replied. I only went by Lane Sanders, and I happened to take a perverse pleasure in never telling him, or anyone for that matter, whether Lane was my full name or a nickname. Plus, his voice was loud enough to be a giant's, but also very screechy, especially before breakfast. "Good morning, Aunt Evelyn," I said as I strode right past him, across the dining room, and gave my aunt a quick kiss on her soft cheek. My Aunt Evelyn Thorne, was a marvelous mix of classy city lady and bohemian artist. Her jet-black hair was neatly pinned up, and she was sporting a crisp, navy blue pinstriped dress. I smiled to myself at the stark contrast of her attire this morning compared to her red skirt and her long hair trailing down her back while she was painting in her studio last night. Her childhood in France and Italy gave her a worldly and almost exotic air mixed with an earthy authenticity that loved to dare convention. She smiled up at me from the breakfast table laden with scrumptious-smelling scones, eggs, and sausages. Her eyes crinkled with amusement at the exchange between Fiorello and me. "Were you dreaming again, dear?" she asked. Her eyes squinted slightly as she expertly analyzed my face. "I don't have dark circles under my eyes, do I?" I asked as I contemplated running back upstairs for some face powder. "Oh, no, not at all. Lane, not this morning, I can just tell," she replied. I had no doubt about that. Aunt Evelyn's intuition and attention to detail were uncanny at times. I turned to the buzzing and humming human being I had swept past. Fiorello was in a consistent state of perpetual motion, but especially if he had not been greeted properly. Having had him suffer sufficiently, I rounded on him with a huge grin and cocked eyebrow. "And you, my cantankerous friend, how are you this morning?" I heard his chuckle as I dove to the table, eating what I could as fast as human digestion and general dignity could handle, for I knew he would give me mere seconds to eat before we had to bolt out the door. "All right," he began, with eyes still smiling, but with an air of getting down to business. "We have a lot to do today. I was just telling Evelyn that I have a meeting with my commissioners this morning." He said this with a great roll of his eyes. Most of the time, his commissioners were the bane of his existence. He continued, "A meeting with Roger down at the docks to discuss the conditions at the dockhouses, and—" He went on and on about the day's activities as I slurped down a cup of tea and loaded up a scone with homemade strawberry curd and butter. Mr. Kirkland came in and scooped some scrambled eggs onto my plate. Even though I had lived with them for over 13 years, John Kirkland was still a bit of a mystery to me. I would have thought that Aunt Evelyn would require a butler and cook who would be refined and stern in a European fashion. He was anything but that. Mr. Kirkland's craggy face was weather-worn, but...
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.